We are live now, ma'am. Over to you.
Okay. Jai Ho to all the viewers of Chandigarh Literary Society on the eve of Independence Day. And Jai Ho to our guest today also, Captain Sajita Nair.
Good evening to you, Chetna, and good evening to all the viewers who joined in today. And happy
Okay.
Independence Day as well.
Yes, thank you. And so, on the eve of Independence Day, what could be more befitting but to have a lady army officer who retired and has now turned into an author? So, here's formally welcoming Captain Sajita Nair. And I must tell our viewers that she is the daughter of an Air Force officer. She's the wife of a Navy officer, and she herself has been an Army officer. So that is just the most befitting conversations we could have had on the eve of Independence Day. So, Sajita, how have you been, and how has life in lockdown been?
I think, Chetna, for a writer, lockdown is a blessing in disguise because you get to write so much and you can, have a lot of work happening. So apart from a lot of bonding that is happening with the family, I'm also getting a lot of writing done. So for me, I think it's just, I'm looking at the positive side and, doing the best
Yes.
that I can.
I know writers love this kind of isolation and seclusion, to do their writing.
That's
Yeah.
true, yes. You would
And
know, yes.
okay, so before we get conversation rolling about the book, so let me tell our viewers very briefly. We don't want to sound like Wikipedia, so we'll keep it very brief, and we'll let our author unveil and unmask the author in her. So she is the author of a book titled "She's a Jolly Good Fellow." And she's done a couple of short stories in the digital format, which were published by Juggernaut. So, all of you who have grown up and who have been fed on a diet of patriarchal patriotism, and every time you watched a film like Border or Mehuna, and with all those gallant army officers, and you ever wondered, what if it had been a lady officer commanding all those troops? So here you are. Here we have a lady officer who's going to provide us very meaningful insights into what it takes to storm a male bastion, and how life is, for women officers in the defense forces. So over to you, Sajita, and so briefly, just tell us, how did this book happen?
Okay, so I served in the army in '94, so that was very long back, and it was a very new thing for women to join the armed forces. And so, in the armed forces, I gathered so much. So many experiences, very rich experiences, some humorous ones, some not so good ones, all kinds of experiences. And when I left the army, people used to ask me, "So, how was your life in the army?" And a lot of people used to ask me the same question. So I said, okay, I think it's time to, really think about writing a book. And since I already liked reading and writing, I used to write a lot of letters to my friends when I was posted on remote locations. So I said, okay, let me take that passion a little bit further. And I started writing blogs and articles for various magazines. And very, very slowly, started appearing for contests. And at the Kala Ghoda Literary Festival in Mumbai, my book was picked up. Patriotic, India.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Okay. So, let me tell the viewers very briefly that the book is a lens into the life of women officers, in a male bastion, and so she has two protagonists called Deepa and Anjali, and she mirrors that life through the eyes of these two protagonists. So, obviously, we are curious to know
Okay.
how autobiographical is the narrative, and how much of Deepa or Anjali is you.
Okay, so as I was telling you, I had a lot of rich experiences in the army. So the experiences I had drawn heavily on as I was writing the book. But the plot is fictitious because I was very sure that I wanted two lady officers on the ends, on both the ends of the spectrum, and I wanted, like, one I wanted to be mimicking a man, the other I wanted to be a little feminine.
Yes.
So that
Hmm.
I could get both those perspectives, and then
Hmm.
I knew that I had to work on both those flawed characters and have them go through a journey of ups and downs and learn their lessons, and also become very become seasoned army officers. So that was the premise I had in mind. And coming to
Okay.
the question as to how
Yeah.
much of
Yeah.
who I was, um,
Yeah.
I think I was a blend of both. So initially,
Okay.
so initially, I was more of the very strong character
Yeah.
like Deepa, and but towards the end, I realized that you don't have to, despite being in a man's workplace, you don't have to act like a man, talk like a man, walk like a man, do everything like a man. It's not required. So I learned
Hmm.
that, and then I realized that I can be a woman and still an effective army officer.
Wonderful. So let me also give a overview to the listeners that the two protagonists, Deepa and Anjali, so they are as different as chalk and cheese, but we could say they are different as jackfruit and passion fruit.
Yeah,
Okay, so
yeah,
it is a contrast of toughy versus the softy, and it's a contrast of one being more feminine, and the other wanting to be to mingle and gel with the boys, and so this whole, I think the whole narrative is about all these little conflicts of the toughie versus the softie, and the battle of the bobcats and the boots and the berets, and so all those things that women who just foray into a male domain
yeah,
they face. So we would love you to tell us how, when you were doing your stint, so how
right.
did you cope with all these challenges of being in a male bastion? You did
Yeah,
not have, I believe you were the second batch of women officers. Uh,
fourth in the army, second in the air force and navy. Yes, yeah,
Okay,
but the
okay.
second you
So,
are right.
so
Yes,
yeah, so you didn't really have, role models or predecessors in that sense, so you had to almost set an example also. So tell us about your journey and your challenges and your coping mechanism.
yes. So the coping mechanism now, when you're just flung into a male-dominated workplace and you're a woman and you have to figure out how to get the respect of the men that you're commanding. So what I thought initially was that I probably need to act like all the male officers around me, which obviously much
Okay.
later I learned that I didn't have to do that. But in the beginning, that was my coping mechanism. I thought that maybe if I behave like another Captain Saab or another lieutenant that I've seen around me, maybe I'll be able to garner the respect of the men I command, which I did
Okay.
for quite some time.
Okay.
I did for
Yes,
quite some
yes.
time, and I thought I was getting a lot of positive results by doing that. But
Hmm.
then slowly, very eventually, it's all a learning process. Then I realized that you really don't have to put up that, you don't really have to pretend to be someone you're not. You don't have to put up a
Hmm.
show reel. You can just be
Hmm.
yourself. You can just be
Hmm. Hmm.
yourself. Despite that, you can
Hmm.
come across as firm. You can be, you're feminine.
Hmm.
You're female. I mean, a woman. So you can be a woman and yet come across as a no nonsense army officer.
Person.
So
Absolutely.
initially, my coping mechanism was a little different, and which
Hmm.
towards when I served for say 2 3 years, I realized you don't have to really put up all this one. So you can just be just that a certain aspect. Maybe you don't overdo the feminine aspect, like maybe go a little lower on things like your makeup and the way you dress. You need to be aware of how you're projecting yourself to the men.
Mhm.
Yeah, then I learned that you just can be an effective lady officer.
Okay, great. You say that Deepa is more you. So we are wondering who is Anjali fashioned after, one of your colleagues, or is she a, mix and medley of all those women characters around you?
Okay, so the one of the best things I like about writing fiction is that I get to play God. So I I think all the writers
Great.
should agree because you create your little world in which you populate it with characters and you give them the characteristics that you want. I mean, what is required for your world that you have created. So when I started off this book, I knew that one had to be very one had to lean towards masculinity and the other one had to be ultra feminine. So I
Yes.
have the people that I've come across through my tenure in the army. I have made a lot of mix and match, and the people that I've met in life generally. So I have played God, and I I have taken character traits and a lot of things, and done a lot of mix and match, and got the characters that I wanted to create for my fictional work.
Okay, so any interesting anecdotes you would like to share, of how the initial batches of women officers got treated, by the officers or the jawans or the subordinates,
Yeah.
some things that you which filtered into your book.
Right. So I think I'll share a serious one, and then maybe if you have time, we can share a humorous one as well. So
Okay, okay.
there was this a sentry at the gate, and a lot of officers were crossing by the gate, entering the gate, and the sentry came to Savdan for every male officer who went before me, and he saluted them. The captain went, and they all got very smart salutes from the sentry. And so when I
Wow.
entered, the sentry just looked at me from top to bottom, and he didn't bother to salute or anything. So,
Oh
so
my God.
yes. So
Hmm.
then I walked back because I thought to myself that I cannot let this pass, because if this passes today, this is the message I'll be sending to all the subordinates, that they can get away by any kind of behavior around a lady officer, and I couldn't let that happen. So for that
Yes.
reason, I went back and I asked him that, do you see these stars on my shoulders? Then he was a little taken aback. He didn't expect that probably. Then I said, so then he came to start and he saluted. So the level of, I mean, it was a time when you had to demand respect. Now I
Yes.
underwent the same kind of training as a gentleman officer in the Officers Training Academy, and I worked very hard to earn my stars. And so for people to just not give the stars its due, and irrespective of whether a male officer or a female officer is wearing it. So I didn't find that right. So those things were ticked off right then, and I think then the word went round, and then people got the message. Okay, you can't just take her for granted. I think it was also
Okay,
about
great.
precedent, because I was amongst the first few women officers. So if I did that and the lady officers who came after me, I didn't want the subordinates to think that they could get away by doing by such behavior. So
Yes.
I think it's important to set the precedent.
Great. So I think here it would be very apt to mention that at a time when there's a movie coming out on in web format, in digital format, Gunjan Saxena, which gives insights into the life of a woman Air Force officer who also played a role during the Kargil conflict. So
Yes.
we would love to tell our viewers that it was much before this movie happened, that we had Sajita, giving us all those, uh, spilling all the beans about, life in the forces for the women. And all this, I understand, the men, it's tough for them to, accept both the genders, but we are also curious to know how did you all get treated by the other women meaning the officers' wives, the commanding officers' wives. So how did they respond to this whole bastion stormed by gorgeous young women? So were they insecure? Were they very welcoming? How was it?
I think our senior officers' wives, the ones that I came across, I think they were very supportive. And initially, I remember they used to tell us that in case you have any gender-specific needs, you could be in touch with us. So don't hesitate to tell us any of your problems. So I think they were very supportive, actually. But yes, I've come across different types of, kinds of ladies. Some of them used to be very proud. So they used to tell us that, you girls have done something that we could never dream of. If in my time I could join the armed forces, I would certainly be there, So some of them used to take a lot of pride that we were finally doing it. It was as if they were living their life through us. So that was another interesting aspect. Yeah, there was also one more thing about, some of the senior lady officers who felt that probably we could also be part of the ladies' club meets, right?
Okay.
For example, participating in the club
Hmm.
and doing
Hmm.
some, the whatever dance and the fashion parade and such things, which they would organize. So.
Hmm.
So now that was a little difficult for me because on the one hand you're in an office where you're commanding men, and on the other
Yes.
hand you cannot be seen twirling in a sari. It probably, it's the picture, the image that you're trying to portray does not
Hmm.
come out right. So I remember having this conversation with my commanding officer, and I told him, so this is the problem. So I would not be able to participate in the fashion show. So he was so understanding. He said, you don't have to. You're an officer in the
Oh,
unit. Yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah. That's understandable.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay. So well, now that we are mentioning this movie Gunjan Saxena, we can also tell our viewers that Sajita's book is going for a screen adaptation. So Sajita, just very briefly, would you like to tell us how did that happen?
Yes. So my book, She's a Jolly Good Fellow, it's published by Hachette India, and a literary agency named Labyrinth Literary Agency is in touch with Hachette India for film adaptations of the books they had published. So they got in touch with me, and they said that a certain production house would be interested in the rights for a web series for this book. It
Okay.
was through Labyrinth Literary Agency and through Mr. Anish Chandi, who runs the literary agency, that this came across. And the auction happened last year. And the screenplay is on. It's being written, and let's hope that it's there.
Let's hope it's out soon in this
Yeah,
age of OTT. So we can look forward
right,
to that soon. Yes. And
right.
okay, now I think we should take our viewers to the settings of your book. So you must
Okay.
have been posted at various places, but you have set your book in a very tongue twister of a name the place has. I'll try pronouncing it right. It's called Beng Dubbi. So you can
Correct.
correct me
Thank
if I didn't get that right. So
you.
please
Got
tell
it.
us why and how did you, decide upon setting your book in this back of beyond place?
So as I was telling Chitna, so now coming from a metropolitan city, like the training happened in Chennai, so I wanted to these two fictional characters, to land in the remotest of places, so that apart from their own other challenges of proving themselves in a man's world, they had other challenges as well. About
Okay.
not being able to just take a few things for granted, what you would in a city. So being in a very, very remote place next to a forest, the next tea plantation. So I wanted to make it as remote as possible, to make it tougher for them, for the characters in
Okay.
the, yeah.
Okay.
So that's the reason I chose this place, which is
The
it's
setting,
actually
Benjubi.
Bengal.
Okay. So do you recall some interesting anecdote about that really justified your setting the book in this place called Benjubi?
Yes. Now, Bengali borders the forest, and there are tea estates also, and elephants come for visit to the unit.
Oh.
So,
Hmm.
yes. So I
Okay.
want, as I told you. So I wanted more and more challenges, because the more number of hurdles the protagonists go through, I mean, the more you root for them. So I wanted them to be in such a remote place where apart from their own other problems, they also had elephants coming to the unit and eating all the ration, and then
Oh.
adding to all the problems, which they had enough problems to deal with, and then adding to some more problems. So
So
that's why.
that must have been pretty hilarious, and challenging also. Okay, so I think we've given the viewers kind of a glimpse into the first book. She's a jolly good fellow. So now
Mhm,
talking a little bit about your short stories, and
mhm.
which are in a digital format, and
Right.
I noticed that they all have titles which have to do with the defense forces, an army
Yeah.
officer's wife, a navy officer's wife, and things like that. So we will ask you to elaborate on that. But here, if
Mhm.
I may just digress a bit, you're the daughter of an Air Force officer, you're the wife of a Navy officer, and you yourself have been an Army officer. So, which of these three roles, is closest to your heart? If you could choose only just one role to play in life, which one would it be?
Okay, so you're making it tough for me there.
Making it
although
up?
I although I enjoyed everything. I mean, I am still enjoying being a naval officer's wife. But I think
Hmm.
wearing the uniform is a completely different thing. So for me, it was such a thrilling time to be able to wear the OG uniform and be an army officer and be in real situations, be in an army unit, and take on a lot of challenges. And it was tremendous learning experience. So I think hands down it has to be my role as an army officer.
Okay, great. So now, very briefly about your those short stories, which are set in defense, settings. So please tell us about that.
So there is this new age publishing house called Juggernaut Books, and they do digital
Yeah.
content, and it's actually an app. So you download the app on the mobile, and then you can
Hmm.
download stories. So there are different. They've got all genres. It's quite good. I mean, so they are traditional publishers, but their main medium of publishing is digital. Although they do some few print books as well. So I
Okay.
got in touch with Juggernaut Books with another story idea. And
Hmm.
the editor told me, why don't you do a set of romance stories set in the armed forces? So I said,
Mm-hmm.
wow, okay, fine. Because I have seen all the three forces. I said, okay, I'll do that. So they wanted me to write a collection of 10 short stories. And so I set it in, some in the Air Force, some in the Navy, some in the Army. So, and they said it had to be the genre had to be romance. So yes, I worked on that,
Okay.
and that's how I went about publishing with Juggernaut. It's in digital format,
Oh,
so all the books are
okay.
available. All
Okay.
the short
Okay,
stories.
great. We are hoping Chandika Literary Society has a lot of young members, and we are hoping that there are a lot of budding writers out there listening to this conversation. So this one is specially for them. So now I come to the craft of writing.
Yes.
So there is broadly two schools. So one is the structured school of writing
Mm-hmm.
versus the spontaneous school of writing. So structured would be like you have to clock a fixed number of hours every day, and come what may, even if you're not in the mood to write, you have to just write. And the spontaneous would be that there are days you don't write even a single sentence, and there days you might just churn out 20,000, 30,000 words. So which school do you subscribe to?
I think I'm a bit of both. I think so.
Okay.
Structured. Let me tell you what structure for me here would mean. So
Yes.
now, when I have a story in mind, I would just make a short synopsis of what is in my mind. What is the story? What is the plot line of the certain story?
Hmm.
And I have it down as a synopsis, just a one-page synopsis, really short. So I know what the story is. That's it. And then
Okay.
I get to the creative side of filling it with characters, filling it with the atmosphere and the
Hmm.
dialogue and everything that go, fleshing out of the story. So
Hmm.
I think that's what works for me. So I with the short. So what happens with that is, I meet a lot of people who tell me that, oh, I started a novel, but I haven't finished it yet. So I think with this method, what happens is that what your story is going to be, because writers, when they write, when they go into the depth of the characters and all the setting and everything. So what happens sometimes, you do tend to get lost. So when you have a
Hmm.
synopsis with you, a short one, just to guide you, so it's like a blueprint. So sometimes when I'm lost in whatever I'm writing, I get back to myself and see where was I going really. So
Yes.
that keeps me
So
on track.
bit of structure helps.
A little bit of structure, because
Yes.
then the creative person has to take on, but just a little bit of where you're going, where you're headed, and just in case you're lost, you know where to head. So that really helps.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Great. So now, coming a bit to the genres of writing. So, what's your take, on, whenever your writing gets categorized as chick lit? I just had a conversation my previous session with another chick lit author, Indu Balachandran. So she
Okay.
had a great take about, how she responds to being called a chick lit writer. So what's your take?
See, when I started writing, I didn't know much about genres. So it's only now that I learned that it's very important for publishing houses to market their books that they need to have genres. So
Okay.
yeah, so I didn't know mine was going to be promoted as a chicklet, because the usual chicklet elements are totally missing in my book. If you look at it, there's no shopping, there's no shopping, there is no tomatoes, there's
Yes.
no such stuff at all in my book. But
Yes,
despite that,
instead of the, if I may button here, instead of the red heels and the stilettos, you have boots.
yes, there are booths. So I don't I don't know how it could be classified really as ticket, but then considering that it was meant for the target audience was meant to be young women, so I think
Yes.
yes, that's why the publishers thought that that's the best way to promote the book. But then I've had readers of all age groups, and I've had gentlemen officers. I mean, men also getting back to me and telling me that they saw a different perspective of what a woman officer thinks and how a woman officer thinks. And I also had young adult readers as well who got
Great.
back
So
to me.
you're cutting across genres as well as readership. Yeah. So,
I think with that particular book, it did cut across a few. Yes, so I think that I'm happy about that.
okay. And just a sentence about, what's your take on writing versus marketing? Do you think writers have to be born with a marketing DNA too? Or is it something that you can buy on Amazon, the marketing DNA?
Yeah, the old school of thought used to be that writers just write, they are in their dreamy land, they're just creating work after work, and that it ended there. Their job was only to write. But I have, when I look around, I find that all the names that are standing out, all the titles that are standing out, I mean, a lot of marketing has, a lot of promotion has gone behind them. So that's why we get to see them. A lot of a lot of promotion has gone into it. So I think in today's world, we have you know authors themselves taking on quite a bit of marketing roles as well. I think it really helps, and I think I need to improve a bit there. So I need to get a little more on the marketing side. I think all the authors these days just have to do that. It's become so important in today's world to have social
Okay.
media, spread the
Okay.
word.
So great. So I think now we've done a lot of serious talk. So let's
Okay.
have a bit of fun. And
Okay.
so, since it's the eve of Independence Day, so
Uh-huh.
we're going to do a fun round, a rapid fire round called Idea Special, and I would like to invite all the viewers out there if they want to give in their replies. Also, they are free to comment with their replies. So we would love to see what they have to say wherever it's possible. So some
Mhm.
questions will be specific to Sajita, but for general questions, please, all the viewers do join in. Let's have some fun. Okay, so Sajita, are you ready? You need to fasten your belt or your
Oh
sari
my God!
pallu or something.
Oh my God!
Go into
You,
the rapid
you're
fire
gonna
round.
you're gonna put me in a real fix now. You're scaring me.
Not at all, not at all. We'll
Okay.
start with simple stuff, okay?
Okay.
So, seeing that the mood is of of Independence Day, so we'll start with a question. What What's your favorite patriotic flick?
Patriotic.
Audience are welcome to give their replies also.
Uh, I saw. I think I just saw this Gunjan Saxena movie just yesterday, and I
Okay.
think yes. So I was, although people did say that a little bit, it has been exaggerated a little bit at certain places,
Okay.
but overall, the things that have been conveyed, the emotional aspect of how it was, how difficult it was for a man, for a woman to be in a man's workplace, and also the way she went ahead and proved herself, and she earned the Shaurya Chakra. So I think that is the
So,
recent
so,
event.
so you okay?
And
So that would be one of your favorites because it's from based on a first-hand experience, right?
yes, yes,
So,
yes.
okay, viewers, are please giving your comments also about your favorite patriotic flicks. And I just read one of the comments from Indu Balachandran. She also saw Gunjan Saxena, so
Oh,
probably
really?
this is one of her favorite patriotic flicks too.
Wow.
Okay.
Okay.
So, no, she says her favorite flick is Swadesh, and Narinder
Pradesh.
Jeet
Okay.
Kaur says her favorite flick is Hakikat, and
Okay.
Hakikat has another, viewer writing in. Parminder Soni ji also says Hakikat is,
Okay.
their favorite
Okay.
flick.
Okay.
So please,
I haven't
please.
watched Hakikat. Okay.
Okay. So moving
Yeah.
on to a little more of the fun.
Hmm.
If a remix of Principal Bhupender says Shaheed is his favorite
Okay. Okay.
patriotic play. So any more
Mhm.
takers, please keep sending in your comments. Okay. So so now if a remix of that fabled patriotic song Kar Chale Hum Fida Chano Tan Sathiyo, I'm sure you've heard it, Muhammad Rafi. So if
Right.
a remix of that song is being done, uh, in which of the following voice would you like to hear it? So
Okay.
option A, Sajita,
Uh-huh.
Himesh Reshammiya.
Uh-huh.
Option 2, Yo-Yo Honey Singh.
Oh God. Okay.
And option 3 is Sonu Nigam.
Sonu Nigam. I think that particular song. This was kind of easy because it just has to be Sonu Nigam.
I
I can't
kept it
even
easy.
imagine. I can't even imagine. They are kind of rappers, and so I think Sonu Nigam has just the right voice to take that
Okay,
the
so we have
emotion
another
song.
viewer writing in with their favorite patriotic flick, and that is Ramesh Nichani ji. He says Lakshya is his favorite flick.
Lakshya is another one which didn't occur to me right away. That's a good one. Yes.
Okay, okay. And as for the singers, I think all the votes are going to Sonu Nigam ji,
Yes, it has
Harminder
to
Soni,
be. It
Narinder
has
ji,
to be.
Kaur, and Principal Bhupinder. They all say Sonu Nigam. And
Yes.
okay, so I think I should have twisted the question to read
Made it a little
different. So
tougher.
okay,
Yeah.
that doesn't matter. And
Yeah,
Vandana
I hope
Savani
you're happy with
ji
the
also says Vanna Savani ji also says Sonu Nigam is the voice she would like to hear sing that
one. Right.
song. Okay,
Okay.
so Sajita,
Yes.
what's your favorite patriotic dialogue? And if you could just recite it for our viewers, that would be wonderful. I'm sure during your army days, you people used to, say a lot of these dialogues, or at least used to watch a lot of that stuff, isn't it?
Um, I think not dialogue as such, but Jai Hind. I think that just does it. You know,
Okay, the cat.
Jai Hind
Uh,
because
any
as far
dialogue that you recall? Any dialogue that you recall and you like to hear it again and again from, any patriotic flick?
um,
Readers, viewers, please, you're welcome to come up with your answers too while Sajita ji is giving it a thought. Hmm.
no, I can't really
Any
think of something right away.
dialogue? Okay,
I
take
think
your
I think then
time.
it has to be. I think then it has to be. I think what's the Josh? Sorry, how's the Josh? I
Okay.
think that's what comes to mind.
Okay,
From
okay, okay,
I think that's what comes to
okay.
mind right now. How's the Josh? It just kind of energizes you. So
Yes.
and the
Okay.
routine thing which is asked in the army. So how's the Josh? So you say hi sir or hi ma'am. That is. So I think
Okay, okay, okay. So I think talking a little bit more about books.
right.
So here's our next question.
Mm-hmm.
Out of the following authors, who would
Mm-hmm.
your favorite author be for writing patriotic patriotic literature?
Oh, okay.
And you would have to give an answer as to why.
All
Okay.
right.
So
Okay.
option A is Amish Tripathi.
Mm-hmm.
Option B is Ashwin Sanghi.
Mm-hmm.
Option C is Chetan Bhagat.
That's
How
all.
could I leave the How could I leave the Chetan out?
Chetna, no more choices here. That's it. You've
No,
given me only three
no,
choices.
unless you want to come up with some other name altogether.
um, patriotic. I think the. I mean, from the choices given, um, I think I'll have to. What the viewers say in the meantime.
What the viewers are saying. Viewers are still thinking. They put on their thinking caps. And
Oh,
as for
sorry.
the
Okay.
answer to the favorite patriotic dialogue, we have a response from Principal Bhupinder, who
Okay.
says his favorite patriotic dialogue is Mogambo Khushwa.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
So,
Yeah,
um,
okay.
so you
Um,
can come up with a name of any author that you also want to come up with. You don't have to go by these three options. Any
okay.
author you see who would be good with patriotic lit.
I think this is, what I feel is that when you're writing something patriotic, a little bit of experience as to being in the forces would really help, is my personal opinion. So I think
Hmm.
someone who has that kind of background is Mr. Kulpreet Yadav. So I think I'm taking my own choice. I'm not taking the choices that you've
That's
given
okay.
because Yeah, so because they are mythology and they do mythology. So I think Kulpreet Yadav would do a good
Would
job
be
with
your
that.
choice. Kulpreet Yadav is
Yes.
Sajita's choice. And as for our readers, I think Parminder Soneji says Amish Tripathi,
Mm-hmm.
and Indu Balachandran says, "Oh no, I didn't expect that of Indu." She says Chetan Bhagat probably.
Really? No,
but,
it also
but no,
no.
no, 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 no. You have to hear the complete reply.
Okay.
She says
Yeah. Okay.
Bhagat probably, but I mean Bhagat Singh. So that's
uh,
so typical of Indu Balachandran to say
I
that.
know.
Yeah, and anyways, and Principal Bhupinder also, he hasn't come up with a response. Narinderjit Kaur says Amish Tripathi,
Okay.
and Principal Bhupinder is so kind. He has given me the job of writing patriotic lit. So
Oh,
he
good.
says not
That's
Chetan Bhagat.
wonderful.
Yeah, he says not Chetan Bhagat. He would like to see Chetna Keer write patriotic
Wow, that's
lit.
so wonderful. That's so wonderful.
Okay. So
Anyway, I'm a
anyway,
fan of your literati column, so you write really well with the
thank
play of
you
words.
so much. Thank you. Thank you. That's so kind of you to say that. Okay. So here's moving on to some more questions in the
Okay,
spirit of Independence Day Eve, and this has got to do with your army life.
all right.
If you were appointed the HR head in the army, so what
Mm-hmm.
is the one thing you would want to do away with in the women officers, uniform or the protocol? So I'm giving you three options.
Okay,
Option A is boots.
boots. Okay,
Option B is bob cuts,
okay.
and
Okay.
option three is baggy trousers. So, as the HR
Okay.
head, what would you like to do away with for women officers?
So women officers really don't have a thing about what kind of hairstyle they need to maintain. So I think that is
Okay.
yeah. So I think the aspect of how they want to maintain their hair, they can have very long hair, but the thing is only it has to be in a neat bun, and and then you should wear the beret. So that is it. So
Okay.
I think about that the hair aspect. I think your
So
question was
which
what?
would be your choice?
I think the bob cut thing. I think it's not even there. Bob cut can
So,
totally be taken.
so we do away with that. Okay. Out
Yeah.
of the other two.
I think that's uniform. So I think I don't want to do anything with
Touch that.
uniform. That's that.
Okay.
Yes.
Any other thing which comes to your mind you would like sort of to change or modify or whatever?
About the uniform. About the lady officers.
Anything, no, it could be about the life of the officers or the protocols, anything that you would like to change as an HR head. So, any just one thing, one word, one liner.
I think it has to be just the mindset. I think I'll have a lot of training programs to sensitize them.
Mindset.
Yes, I'll have a
Okay.
lot of training programs to sensitize men and tell them how to have women serving along with them, alongside them.
Great,
I think
great.
that's an
Okay.
important thing. Yes.
Okay. Okay. So, we have Anna Savani ji saying that session with Captain Sajita Nair and moderated by Chetna Keer. So I'm glad the viewers are having a nice time. So we move on quickly to the last few questions. We don't have too much time left.
Okay.
Okay. So as a woman army officer, which is the most cheesy line that you have been hit upon by?
Um. So. So.
You can go public with it.
No, I cannot. No, so I'll take a safer one. So, gentlemen officers asking that you're in the army and you're a teetotaler. Don't tell me that. So yes,
Oh. So that's the cheese.
teetotaler in the army.
Okay,
So
okay, okay, okay.
yeah.
Wow. Okay, okay. And anyways, uh, conversely, if you want to hit upon a male officer and you want to invite him to the dance floor, so what would be your cheesy line?
No cheesy line here, Chetna. Just
No
sir,
cheesy line.
what do you think you care for a dance? Done.
You're done with all that. Okay. 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 So the next one is your commanding officer's wife thinks you're having an affair with him.
Oh
So
my God.
what would be your smart punchline to rebut her?
I'm not in the army for this, ma'am.
Okay.
I've got my priorities very clear.
Okay, good, good. Okay, so I think now coming to almost the last question, and here I'll just read out some more comments that have come in. Ramesh Nichani ji says he's looking forward to your web series based
Oh,
on your
wow.
book. So now we're
Thank
coming to
you.
this question about your screen adaptation. Okay,
Mhm.
so
Okay.
for your screen adaptation of your book.
Mhm.
So, if you are chosen to star in the role of the female lead, okay, so who would you, out of the following, who would
Uh-huh.
you like as your male lead? And your options aren't too many, and I
Okay.
would like it if you stick to them. So,
All right.
so who would you like as your male lead in the
All right.
screen adaptation of your book?
Okay.
Option A, Ranveer Singh.
Uh-huh.
Option B, Sunny Deol.
Mhm.
Option C, Amir Khan.
Okay. All right. So I actually, Amir Khan is one of my favorite actors, but I'm not sure if he, because given the age of the
Of
Deepika
the
Gans, but I think
character.
it just has to be Amir Khan. I think he'll do a good job with that.
So, who's your
That
choice?
was the choices that you've given me. Yes.
So do you have some other choice? Please go ahead.
No, no,
We'd
no,
love to
no.
know.
Because if Amir Khan wasn't included here, I would have included him here.
I know one person, I just know one person in the audience who would have said Shah Rukh Khan or Madhavan. So that is Indu Balachandran. So
Oh,
at least she's clear about her choices.
okay, okay.
Okay. Yeah.
All right.
Okay. So we're almost about to wrap up the session. So it has been a wonderful conversation and very befitting on the eve of Independence Day to hear all this wonderful, talk about the lives of women officers in the forces and how they strike the balancing act between being officer and woman. So,
Yes.
okay, so we have Narinderjeet Kaur ji asking who would be the two actresses you would like to play your protagonists in the screen
Okay.
adaptation.
So when I'd written this book, I really wanted Priyanka Chopra and Preeti Zinta to, I just imagined in my mind that they
Oh,
would be
okay.
perfect. Yes. But now when I look at the OTT platform, I find so much of talent, and
So much
I hope
younger, new faces.
younger new faces and so much talent that any talented actress, could play the role. Is what I think.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. So we're spoiled for choices now in the time of
Yes.
OTT, and
Mhm.
so here's wrapping up the session, and we have viewers writing in. Padminder Soniji writes a wonderful conversation. Indu Balachandran, she's replying to my Shah Rukh Khan comment, and she says, "You mind reader," and it's been an engaging conversation not only with Sajita but also with the audience and the viewers. So I think just before we wrap up, we have to show the viewers our Independence Day Eve attire. We are totally in the Independence Day mood, and so we can sort of we can adjust the screen and if so if you can see my attire, it is totally in Independence Day mood, and it is a charkha. Which
Oh
I've
wow.
got it custom designed, on a Kerala kasavu. So it's a charkha, and there are birds flying, which symbolize freedom. So that's my Independence Day move here, and Sajita there is also
Yes, I'm
joining
wearing
in,
a
joining in
Kerala
with her
sari with the
peacock. She's
national
joining
judge
in with
peacock.
peacocks, and
Yes,
here is the charkha. Here is the
wow,
charkha. Can you
wonderful.
people see the charkha?
Yes,
So
yes, right.
so here we are with the charkha to set the tone for Independence Day tomorrow. And here's wishing all our viewers a very happy Independence Day. आप सबको स्वतंत्रता दिवस की बहुत बहुत शुभकामनाएं चंडीगढ़ लिटरेरी सोसाइटी के behalf पे. And so thank you to you, Sajita. And
Thank you, Chetna. It was
thank
really
you.
nice, a good conversation, and I really thank the Chandigarh Literary Society for having me here. And happy Independence Day to each one of you who is watching. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Have a good evening and have a great Independence Day. And so here's bye with the charkha again,
And bye with the peacock.
the colors of the tricolor.